Hello everyone. I hope everyone's having a great day two of phase two. And thank you for joining us on this beautiful afternoon for our second plant clinic. The plant clinic is part of a series called Get Growing, which we encourage people to grow your own edible, to have a closer relationship with the food that you eat. So today we have invited two amazing speakers with us who advocate for healthy and mindful living to share their tips on how we can garden for nutrition in small spaces. Most of us, we are living in small spaces, I think 80% of us. So today's session will be two parts. It will be a 45 minutes discussion with the speakers. And at any point of time, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A section. During the last part of the webinar, we will try to address them, maybe the last 15 minutes. Yeah, so I hope you guys have used the gift of time during this period to be, working on certain hobbies that you probably don't have the time, like gardening and cooking for your family, having a slower tempo in life. So before we start, I also want to introduce my amazing co-host, Nitya. Nitya is a culinary anthropologist and a TV host of CNA's series Edible Wow. So if you're curious about what she does, go check out her series online. Yeah, so Nitya, I would like to ask you, as a culinary anthropologist, do you think that people in Singapore, are we eating healthier, or are we more conscious about our nutrition, or do you think that we're still eating lots of junk food? And how do you see the trend going on from now?
I think Singapore in general, we generally are quite aware of eating for health, but whether that equates to eating locally grown produce or whether that includes native varieties, that's still something, the awareness is still growing, I think. Like during my grandparents' time, I remember it's very easy for people to spend $90 on noni juice, right? Because they thought it was a health tonic. But noni also grows all over Singapore, and you could easily make it. It just smells really bad, but it's there, and it's the same with things like moringa and things like that, which were very much a part of my diet growing up because my grandparents were cooking it. But for it to be seen in my generation or in future generations, I hope more awareness builds.
How do you see us getting to know this knowledge, people of Gen X and millennials? Do you think that information like this is going to reach them, or you think that there's still a big gap in terms of awareness building in this?
I think there are definitely great initiatives. I think what Slice is doing is great. I think what Cynthia is doing is great. I think what Valen's doing is great. There's, like the last plant clinic, we had Alexia's, we had Olivia, we had Brian, all Gen X and younger who are very much interested in native plants. So I think there's definitely a market for it. There's definitely interest in it. I think we just need to stop waiting for the West to tell us that something is an superfood in Asia and define the value for ourselves here. But it's more about, if you grow it, then how do you cook it? So that kind of knowledge, I think if you have your grandparents, please just talk to them. Talk to your neighbors who are maybe more recent imports into Singapore. Like if they're from Vietnam, if they're from Thailand, the Philippines, India, they're definitely using a lot more of these tropical herbs in their cuisine at present. And they have the knowledge as well to use it. So just talk and be friends.
That's great. And I hope we can contribute to this information sharing as well. I'd like to introduce our speakers to you guys. So first we have Cynthia with the amazing moringa plant beside her, which I think she'll share a bit more about, the benefits of it. So she's the chief of Super Farmers. When I had a chat with her, I realized she's a really great mama as well. She cooks for all her children for every meal that she can, even though she has a busy lifestyle. So I'm hoping to understand how she does it. So Super Farmers is a wellness company focused on helping people to eat well and live well through food and nutrition education. Super Farmers has been great because they design programs to help people learn how to cook and eat based on nature's abundance on nutrition and healing power. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi.
Okay, next we have Balan, who is the founder of Herb in a Cup. He's a social entrepreneur who has a lot of interests, ranging from personal fitness to growing his own food and also recycling organic waste. He envisions Singapore to be a true green food paradise with a focus on healthy and mindful living. So we see Balan and Cynthia being actively advocating in this space. So very excited for you guys to join us and love to hear more about your journey. So maybe if you guys can introduce yourself a bit more about what you do, maybe I missed out some things, and maybe share with us how you guys got into gardening and what motivates you to continue to grow your own food. Yep. Maybe any of you can start first.
Okay, I'll go first, okay? So, thanks, Bala, I saw that. Okay, so I started this about 8 years ago when my daughter was only 3 years old, and she fell very gravely ill. In fact, she was almost dying. She was on the brink of death. And the doctor had diagnosed her with pneumonia that was due to a food coloring allergy. And it was really scary because we could see that, both her lungs were badly infected. In fact, one of them was completely infected, and the other one was quickly filling up with infections. So I'll fast forward. What ensued was a whole month of tests and treatments, and she finally responded. In fact, she had to transfer hospitals because the first doctor who saw her actually said to us, "You have to be prepared. She may not make it. She's not responding to any of our treatments." And so I, by chance, bumped into a second doctor who is a SARS specialist, and he had all the expertise from the SARS period. And he brought in his own team of the SARS experts as well. And after a month and a very, very hefty hospital bill, we finally got her back to good health. But that really was the trigger for me to begin my journey with food. What is exactly inside food that caused her to be so ill? And what are people putting in, what are farmers putting in their crops to, I don't know, it just began a whole questioning of food and how it's made, where it's coming from. I started cooking. Obviously, I left my corporate career and I started cooking organically at first for her, but that really took a toll on my pockets, right? And it's just very hard since I stopped working. And so that really was when I started to understand more about nutrition. Is there a need to be eating organic food only? How can I incorporate nutrition in a very simple, budget-friendly way? Yeah, so that began my journey of understanding how I could grow my own, what can be grown, what can't be grown, what is better imported, what is better purchased from Singapore. So that was really the start. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing. Balan, how about you? Like, do you also get inspired because of nutrition, or were you gardening for fun?
What got me started was, one was climate change, one was food security. I also train clients in fitness also. So with regards to climate change, you tend to read about all the dark cloud news about pollution, pesticide pollution. You have the sea levels rising, you've got bee colony collapse, you've got plastic in your oceans, in your seafood. So, and you've got desertification where the land actually dries out, people have to move off, okay? So then you have like, you need to do bioremediation. So when we term climate change, right, I personally look at it as it's more of a behavioral change. We actually triggered climate change. Climate change is a response from the climate. So if we were to take a backward step, right, and we scale it down, let's say the issues of the world or the challenges of the world, we bring it down to a country level, to an individual level, or the community level. I asked myself, what could I do? So it started off with waste. In Singapore, we have this notion that we do not have natural resources. So it's just a mind shift for a label of association. I look at it from, so for every product, there's a byproduct. So I saw that as waste as a form of abundance. So I started with coffee waste, trying to grow oyster mushrooms from them. And along the way, what happened next was I bought all these cups and I wanted to sort of grow mushrooms in them, and I was stuck with all these cups. It didn't work. It didn't take off at that point in time. So I had to dive into, I had a problem, so I had to create a solution for it. I decided to grow herbs and leafy greens, and that is how I took it forward. And the clients that I sort of train, they also want to eat healthy also. So nutrition comes in also, because when you train, it's about your mindset. It's about the types of food. We're coming back to food security. So it's not so much about, primarily I would say is, yes, you want to grow locally, you want to buy locally. You don't want to mass import, because when the climate change, everything is affected. And if they cannot send anything over, the prices go up. So indirectly, everybody gets impacted. But for food security, the secondary part is the types of foods that we put into our body. We need to understand how they can actually enhance our well-being. That's rather important from your nutritional, mental, physical, and emotional aspect of things. So that is what got me into the growing atmosphere, I call it. Yeah.
Nice. Before we dive deeper, I really want to know what kind of food that you guys decided to grow, that is, good for our health. Maybe I would like to ask you guys, are there any how do you think about designing your garden initially, and are there any like challenges that you face? Do you guys have abundance of land and abundance of sunlight? Were those the conditions that you were under?
Okay, for me, I grew outside my corridor, so there's limited space. So I have to get creative with space. So what I did is you sort of grow vertically, and there's a lot of cups lying around, containers lying around. You can actually explore what you can actually use them for. So just tap into your mindful creativity and see how far you can take it to. And it's a deep dive down the rabbit hole, meaning to say when you try something, there's always something, an extension of something that you can actually do. So that is where the interest or the adventure keeps going. So yeah.
Right. When you say you had all those cups, and when I saw online, it seems like those cups are those that we use to drink kopi, and drink sugarcane juice. Like, do you get them from hawkers as well sometimes?
Yes, for starters, yes, I get them from hawkers, but I come down to a point where after a while you need to expire them because they tend to crack. So I explore, I look at other more hardier. They have a sort of a reading, a label on it. So the types of material that is being used. So I go for the hardier ones. Yeah.
So it seems like it's a great idea to be friends with the uncle who sells you your
Yeah.
kopi. Okay. Yeah. Cynthia, how about you? Like, do you grow in your like flats, or like do you grow in like a raised bed? What kind of like conditions do you grow in?
So currently, because I have my own garden in my workplace, in my studio, I actually grow it on the ground. So I have beds, that I've constructed, and also trellis and growing things that can creep and crawl. However, when I first began, it was really just hanging things off my window grill because I live in an HDB. And as usual, as parents, we would want to grill up the house. And so I was just thinking of ways to fill up the window space because it was where, the sunlight was coming through. So if I could, find something that could hang, and I did. I actually went to IKEA, and then I found these 90 cents cutlery holders that had holes at the bottom. And so I would just line the inside with geofabric and then, put soil into it and started seeding it. And it was growing off my window grill. Yeah.
Did that work very well? Sorry, Nithya.
I've been to Cynthia's Super Farmer's space, and it's really quite beautiful. Like, I think what you guys have is just like beautiful light, and really well designed. Even the products, like the Super Farmer kits and stuff, they're really beautifully designed. Yeah, I have them here today. Actually, I was going to show everybody. So
Please show us.
yeah, I mean, if people have problems growing their own food, just think of creative ways like Balan has, I've been to Balan's house and it's really, oh my goodness, the whole entire corridor it's like a jungle. It's totally possible. So if you don't want to, go into your corridor space or your window grill, then these would really come in handy. These are the size of an ice cream, a tub of ice cream, a 26-ounce ice cream. And you can, so we actually
sell this. It's created by us and design it, okay. And it comes with everything you need to grow your own microgreens. So one of the things I really advocate eating is microgreens because they only take about 10 to 14 days to grow. And the nutritional values of the plants inside, which are really just a bit bigger than sprouts, but smaller than the mature vegetables, the nutritional value is very high. So, and you don't have to cook it. You really just have to eat a handful of whatever you're growing each day, and you would have sufficient nutrition for the day because it will supplement whatever you are eating already in your diet.
Right. Is this something that you can grow and snip off? And like, how many times can you use this? And like, if let's say I want to eat it every day, like how many of this do I need to have?
Okay, so if you want to eat it every day, obviously you would have to grow quite a bit of it, you know, like maybe one per day. Yeah, I mean, we give about 200 seeds in each package. Okay, so that's quite a lot. I mean, if you imagine one seed growing into one bunch of vegetables, I mean, that's how it works, right? One seed basically grows into a huge giant bunch of vegetables. And that bunch of vegetable brings you so much folate, vitamins, minerals, enzymes. Can you imagine all that 200 times, basically? So that's crazy. That's really quite a crazy amount of nutrients we're talking about here. So I would just really just snip it off. You know, as you can see here, it's growing from the soil. All you need to do is just take a pair of scissors and cut it above the soil line and just eat it raw. They don't really regrow because they are too micro. In fact, if you want them to regrow, then they would need at least another set of leaves present before they can do that whole regrowing thing again. Yeah.
Right. What types of microgreens do you suggest us growing? I saw from your website you have like kangkong and kailan. But when I first got to know about microgreens, right, it was like arugula and more of the Western kind of vegetables. So what do you think are the good varieties that we can start growing?
So I personally also, you know, felt the same as you. I thought, oh, what is arugula? I don't even know what it is, you know. I mean, I'm a Singaporean, so I'm really just familiar with what locally we were eating growing up, right? Which is a lot of, this is actually Chinese kale. It's kailan. Very familiar. We're all very familiar with it. It's actually in the same family as broccoli, as kale, the cruciferous family. So it's nothing we haven't tried before, except it's really just so tiny. And the taste is, I don't know how to describe it. It just goes super well with like a savory dish, you know, like if you pan fried some tofu or you had some smoked salmon, I would totally put this on it because the bitter sweetness would cut out the saltiness of the food. So that's Chinese kale. I also have, like you mentioned, kangkong, you know, and also chai sim, because these are things that we don't normally eat raw. We don't normally eat them as babies either, but they are similar to our Western, you know, vegetables that we know. They are also full of nutrition, but it's just things that we are so familiar with, and they grow very well in our climate. So I've actually picked local vegetables over Western ones. Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, I think
That's
we're going to
amazing.
dive a little bit deeper into food and nutrition. But Jaden, you wanted to ask a little bit more about the challenges of growing in like spaces, right? In small spaces.
Yeah. One thing that I when I showed a friend about balanced setup, and then there were like a lot of all these small cups, and he was like, God, that's like a crazy amount of plants to have, like that you have to water every day. Like, how do you guys integrate gardening as part of your life? Do you see it as a chore? Like, you think that busy people have no time for gardening? Because sometimes we do feel bad when we neglect our plants. So what do you guys like? What's the relationship that you have with your plants? And how much time do you spend? Yeah.
I spend about maybe 10 minutes to water my plants. And it's a relationship that I have. I find it very therapeutic, meaning to say, along the way, you see new leaves growing. Sometimes you might see a plant not doing so well. So it's really things happening at the present time. So sometimes you have bees, honey bees that actually fly over, or when you're watering, butterflies actually come over also. So um, it's a very personal relationship because you do it every day. So you don't have a self-watering system. And it's just 10 minutes of my time. That's about it. And along the way, I will rub the leaves, and if I grow lavender and stuff like that. So you just rub the leaf and you just have a smell, and yeah, it really makes your day. And if you're hungry, you want to taste the leaf, you just pinch a leaf and you just whack it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Cynthia, what about you? You have a garden. Like, does it take you 10 minutes a day, or does it take you longer than that? You look quite shocked when Balan said 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's massive jungle, 10 minutes, really. I think because, you know, with land, everything is deeper. The sun, everything's exposed to direct sunlight here. So they do dry up quite a bit. We have to water twice a day. And each time I do like a little meditation. So that's my counting lah. Okay, so I do a little meditation. I say, hey, I love you, grow bigger, sending you lots of love and light. So you know that takes a while. So that little ritual for me, twice a day, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes each time because it's quite a massive garden. So it does take a while.
Right. How many varieties are you guys currently growing now in your garden? And we have someone asking, how many percentage of your meal does your harvest make up? Yeah. How many varieties and how much percentage of your meals do your harvest make up?
I've got about 10 or maybe 15 types of varieties growing, and I sort of nail it down to the types that are easy to grow, and it's not a one-off where you have to you don't have to cut the entire plant and start from seed all over again. So I tend to propagate them, those that are easy, and they are more, the types that I grow are spinach, so their leaves are bigger and broader. So in terms of a meal, I think that's more, it makes more sense for me to grow those kinds of species. With regards to the types of like, do I eat everything out of my corridor? No, I don't do that initially, yes. But after a while, you want to get other sources, other types of flavors and stuff like that. So I go to the local market, yeah. And I do share my food with the neighbors because sometimes they buy, let's say, chicken or fish, and they just need some leaves, right? Vegetables. So they go out, they help themselves to whatever's there.
I really wanted to ask you about that because I've seen pictures of your corridor garden, right? And it looks like an art installation. It stretches the whole way down. But did you get into any kind of...
Okay, I get it, yeah. Whenever I do my workshop, I get this question.
Right? I'm sure everybody wants to ask. Like, we are in the culture of, you know, neighbors kind of complaining very quickly. So I was wondering was it just luck and...
I don't know. Okay, so I decided to just try it out, and it generated a lot of curiosity, the neighbors wondering what was going on. And what happened was it created a lot of conversation and buzz. So that created a bridge for conversation. So I tell them, hey, you know, you try and pinch this leaf and put it in your mouth and bite it. And so I don't spray all that funky stuff that what you see, you know, where you actually pesticide basically. And they try or they rub a leaf and they smell and say, oh yeah. So that creates a lot of conversation. The general question that I have is, do people complain? No. Do I have mosquitoes? No. So there's a lot of mindful, you take a mindful approach towards things also. And just to share with you, I live on X floor, that means a certain floor. Okay? And on top, my neighbor who's wheelchair bound, he got his son-in-law to come down to my level to push himself through that walkway. So it's quite therapeutic for seniors to actually look at plants. I think when you reach, that's just an observation, maybe when you reach a certain age, you tend to be more, you resonate more to towards nature and natural things. So I saw a lot of elder folks that actually appreciate all of this. So no vandalism, no one, if they want, they will ask me, hey, can I take? I say, yes, just help yourself. Yeah. And you can always see when they walk away, right? There's always a big, broad smile on their face because it's fresh food just out their corridor.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Right.
Do you want to ask?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's dive into the nutrition part of it, Nithya.
Oh, okay. There's
Shall
so many
we?
questions in the chat, and I was just like,
Okay, we can address some as well.
where do we start? Okay, so but what I mean, the reason that we've got both of you guys here was really because you guys don't just grow stuff, right? It's nutrition is such a key part of what you grow. So what, in terms of what you selected to grow? I mean, I know Balan, you said, lots of spinach, lots of leafy greens, because it helps to fulfill a certain part of your meal. But for nutrition, what would you say are the top 3 things that you've chosen to grow?
Plant protein so spinach basically, so I go for plant protein. I also grow wheatgrass, so that's for antioxidants and stuff. So I use wheatgrass. Shallots for flavors. So I grow a variety of things which are small to medium, not extensively large. Nutrition-wise, I would factor in plant protein. That's one which I try to go for. So that's my preference. Yeah.
What about you, Cynthia?
So because I'm very blessed with a space, I tend to grow more herbs that are deeper reaching, they need deeper spaces. I really like to eat herbs for their therapeutic benefits. One of the things that I highly recommend is this plant. It's called the Indian borage. The Indian borage is actually quite a ubiquitous plant. Along every corridor you would see it. It's very, it's got large furry leaves, and it's very, very pungent. It's got the smell of thyme when you rub the leaves and smell. Now, this is a very good plant for the throat. So if you're having any kind of sore throat, having a phlegmy cough, or just to expel some mucus that's stuck in your lungs and you can't cough it out, then this is going to help you do it. Some of my Indian neighbors have shared with me, even babies who have difficulty expelling their mucus, they would pound this into a paste and put it on their chest so that it can extract the mucus through the skin. And for me, what I do is I don't buy Strepsils anymore. I used to. These days, I really just pluck a leaf and chew on it if I'm having a sore throat or some kind of scratchy throat that's coming up, and it works wonders. For my kids, what I do is I would boil it with, I'll boil a bunch of leaves with rock sugar and red dates because the smell is very pungent. And then they drink it like a normal beverage, and it's really good if that sort of things are coming up. So that's my number 1 to grow. But I think quite an important plant I really want to advocate is the moringa. All of us would know what a moringa plant is. It is a very common plant actually in Singapore. It's all over the sidewalks, but I'm not encouraging you guys to go chop some down, okay? It's hard to propagate it also. You need to probably graft this. How to say, it's a superfood. Basically, if you go to an organic store, it's selling for about 200 grams for $20 in powdered form. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I make the powder myself. I actually dry this in the oven and I pulverize it into powder and I drink it in my smoothie. So if I don't grow this, I would easily.
Cynthia.
Is she frozen?
Yeah, she's frozen. I think we have a technical.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you're back.
Oh, sorry. Oops.
Yeah.
Where did I stop?
I don't know.
Moringa, using moringa in your shakes. And if you didn't,
Smoothie,
you'd be buying it. Well, you can buy from Tekka Market, I guess.
You can buy from any wet market, basically.
Yeah, they have it all over.
Yeah, so you can actually read up all about it. The moringa has more calcium than eggs. It has more iron than meat. It has more minerals than vegetables. It has more vitamins than fruits. It's really quite a superfood because
you can eat it every day, actually.
You can eat it every day. Yeah.
But I think for me, I mean, the plants you're saying, it's so crazy because it's stuff that I grew up with, right? So like the Indian borage, if we had like a scratchy throat, my grandma would juice it. So she would juice it and then warm it up over the stove and make us drink it like a shot. And all I remember it as is being this furry vegetable because it's quite furry. It's quite nice to like play around with.
Mm.
The moringa also, we use the drumsticks as well in addition
Yeah.
to the leaves. The thing with the leaves, I mean, I think for anyone who's trying to cook it right now, it's not the easiest to prepare. Like, it's not like your bok choy or your kai lan, you just chop it up and you throw it in. You know, with the moringa, you have to like pluck the leaves off the stems. And that's easily going to be like a 15-minute food prep to get it ready to cook.
I actually can show you how it works. Basically, if you have a little problem with plucking it, all you need to do is just pull it against the grain and it comes off.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that's a trick.
It's a good
Amazing.
trick.
Actually,
Everybody needs to know that.
Yeah.
the first time someone let me smell moringa, I thought it kind of smelled weird. Like,
Yeah.
does it taste like that in food? Like, I've never
No.
done any dishes. Yeah, you get what I mean, right? It smells a bit funky.
Yeah, it smells a bit like urine actually.
What? Guys, come
Yeah.
on. There's some interesting descriptors of the word is, I would say it's in flavor, it's like a kale, right? But like with a little bit more bitterness and a bit of spice.
Cool.
We want to encourage people to eat it, not to like not try it out.
Yeah, that's
No,
why
no,
we're
no, I mean-
busting all the memes. Yeah. Sorry.
No, when
Shruti.
you cook it, it really, really tastes amazing. And if you do the whole powdering thing, it actually smells like matcha powder.
Yes.
Yes, it's
Ooh.
beautiful. Mm.
Yeah. With a bit of almond milk, and you can make it into like a matcha latte
Yes.
with a bit of spice.
Yes.
It's quite a cool thing to do. And what's your top 3 plant? The third plant that you would.
So for me, it's no brainer. It's the microgreens because I actually feel that it's just so full of nutrients. You know, if you are a popper, like someone who likes to pop supplements, how about maybe having that proportion of supplements and eating microgreens instead? Because the enzymes in a live plant would surpass that of a pill anytime. You know what I mean? Enzymes are so important in our daily, like our guts need it basically to digest food and to, you know, just aid the whole digestion process. So yeah, definitely.
You said it was 200 times more nutritious. Is that what you said?
No, it's actually 40 to 42
times? Okay. That's PR branding on my part. So it's 42 times more nutritious than the full plant.
than a full plant.
That's so crazy. Amazing.
So I was wondering.
The 200 you got was actually, I'm giving you 200 seeds. So if you are eating one full-grown bok choy, for example, I'm giving you 200 times of that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. That's efficient as well. Super efficient. Just in the morning. Yeah. I'm wondering if we can grow moringa in HDB. Like, is that something that we can grow, like prop it up and then, you know, get enough sun? Or is that something that only people with land can grow? Do you know anything about this?
It's recommended to grow it in a larger space because it can grow pretty big. So I think I would recommend having a larger surface area or space area actually.
I mean, you can get a little tree with leaves already, like maybe in your corridor, but the huge tree is it does. Yeah, it's quite. And the flowers also are edible. So
flowers. How can you cook it, the moringa flower?
Same like the leaves.
Or tea. You can put it in, you can make tea. Moringa flower tea, I guess. But yeah.
How about mushrooms? Like, Balan, you mentioned about mushrooms. Are those superfood as well? Like, are those things that you will recommend us to grow?
I grow oyster mushrooms. I think they are friendly in our weather and they're slightly easier to grow compared to other types of mushrooms. And you could, so there's the substrate or the base of what the oyster mushrooms require. That means they traditionally in the bigger scale mushroom grower, they actually use sawdust. So I use coffee waste or sugarcane waste from the juicer. So you can actually use that, you can repurpose it and grow oyster mushrooms from there.
Oh, wow. From fruit pulp?
Yes, that's correct. So, you know, the guy, he actually juices the sugarcane.
Yeah.
When you go there, you say, can I take your waste? He give you a big smile. And he says, please take it. They did a study with mushrooms and I think oyster mushrooms also. They help delay cognitive decline. NUS did a study recently. There's a lot of articles on mushrooms also. Yeah. So health-wise, yeah. And I grow them and I share them with my neighbor. So when you bring a fresh clump of mushroom back to cook, it's a very different. It's really, really fresh. Yeah.
So Balan, you teach, like, I mean, you also do physical fitness, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So do you do both together? Like, would you, like, you know, for the people that you teach, you know, to work out, I mean, it's all about balance. Do you also kind of tell them, here's how you can grow some herbs in a cup?
Yes. I teach for a particular organization. So I conduct the aerobics classes. And then that batch of people or beyond that, they have a membership going on in that organization. So I teach aerobics, basically of some movement exercises, body balance and stuff like that. And this group of people also attend the Herb in a Cup workshop where I teach urban permaculture. Basically, it's to look at things within your framework of your home that you can actually use, recycle. So end to end, you want to get some food growing out of what is available for you. That means you don't have to really go all out and spend a lot of money on different types of stuff. You can actually make your own organic compost. You can make your probiotics, prebiotics, all that other stuff that you can do. So incorporate that together. And when people can relate to why they do what they do, I think that is really the key of unlocking your well-being, I would say. And climate change is one thing I also share with them about pesticides resistance, antibiotics resistance. What happens? So when people are more aware, right, I think there's an element of care that they put into themselves, and that extension of care goes out into, we call it the universe or the planet. So people start to care for the environment. So when you start to care, you have an internal climate change, okay, a positive one, and your actions go out there. So you start to, hey, you know, what can we do? What can I do? Yeah. So that's a little story. Yeah.
I'm curious now, like, are there any things that you grow that you will recommend people who are exercising very often for, like, let's say muscle repair, or like, you know, if I want to grow some muscles, I want to burn some fats, like,
Have you been working out, Jaden? Are you secretly asking for yourself? Okay.
Yes. But I'm exercising, but I don't really think too much into what I eat. So I'm curious if Balan has any advice in terms of like this.
Kale is one of them. Kale, I grow kale also. So there's Brazilian spinach, there's Okinawa spinach, there's longevity spinach, microgreens, the array of microgreens, because all this, when you put into your body, they act as a prebiotic to feed your probiotics, basically. So gut bacteria, you want to feed them. In terms of digestion, that's all very good for you. Muscle repair, recovery, I take turmeric for inflammation and stuff like that. So you can actually grow that in the ground, and then and I also brew my own pandan and lemongrass turmeric mix or brew, and then you put it in the fridge. It's really refreshing, so it hydrates you really well. So these are the things that you can actually try. I would say don't just follow, just a suggestion, don't just follow what's in the recipe, but try to go beyond what's above the recipe. So you start something, you know, it's a form of discovery, and it keeps you excited. Oh, okay, I feel that, hey, you know, you could take it to the next level. And who knows, that is how recipes are formed, actually.
100%.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's incredible.
We have Siulan asking, how do you cook kale so that it doesn't taste so bitter? Open to the floor.
Yeah. I put it with chicken or fish, or I eat it. Kale, okay, so some people maybe taste buds wise, they might find it bitter. I find it just nice, pleasant. You may want to season it with a little bit of chicken or fish or seasoning, and it doesn't taste that bitter. Just stir fry it gently, and you will have a nice dish. Texture-wise, yeah.
How about the two other amazing cooks? How do you guys cook your kale?
I like bitter. I find it is a taste. You know, you need sweet, you need sour, you need bland, you need bitter, a little bit of it. But one of the techniques to reduce bitterness in any vegetable is to blanch it very quickly before cooking, or any kind of soaking in a bit of salt water. always helps to reduce bitterness before you start cooking, generally.
So I want to share a little bit about kale. Kale has to be cooked. Kale cannot be eaten raw. So I've had problems in the past when I tried like making kale juice, and like people like making kale smoothies. But if a person has a thyroid problem, then the iodine content inside of kale can actually mess up the thyroid's functions. So just a little bit of an advice is to definitely cook kale. Even blanching, a slight toast in the oven, that helps.
I also recommend using sweet potato leaves instead of kale as well, or in addition to kale. Like they have also very high nutrition content and not as bitter. It's soft, I guess. If that's something if you don't enjoy the texture of kale or kailan, then that's something to consider. Do you guys grow sweet potato leaves? Cynthia and
Yes,
Bala?
I do. Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Like they just kind of, you don't need much maintenance and they just
Yeah.
We have Kim asking, like, Cynthia, speaking of thyroid, do you have any suggestions for food that helps with hyperthyroid?
I can suggest what you don't eat, which is basically the kale. Kale is like a grass, basically. It's not meant to be digested in our bodies. But I can definitely ask Kim to get in touch with me, and I can share with her more. Yeah.
Right. You do like one-on-one consultations to figure out what this person's physique and like conditions are. Then you can recommend like different types of food to go with this person. Right.
Yeah, I just want to declare that I'm not a nutritionist, but I study a lot of nutrition through my 8 years journey with food and healing with food. I just find that it's really helped me a lot. So I'm just sharing what I have learned.
How is your daughter now?
She's good. She is, she's thriving. I can see that even though she's still eating M&Ms, which is, I shouldn't have said it, but it's what caused her very initial problem. But I think over time, children, they do grow some form of immunity over the issue. But however, sadly, her lungs are completely scarred. So they still have scar tissues, which also means that she's more susceptible to catching things in the air. But I feel that education is really the most important thing, because I teach her and I remind her to check labels, to just go with the gut feel. If you feel like this is something that's made of completely artificial coloring, then don't eat it. You have a choice. Yeah, so my daughter's okay now, but I think it's an ongoing conversation with her to remind, to educate, to share, which is really what I'm doing here at Super Farmers. Yeah.
I really liked it, like when you wrote on your blog, like how we are neglecting like our emotional health as well. Like, we are often in this state of anxiety and stress. Like, are there any types of food that we can grow or eat to, help us in terms of like stress relief and then, calm us down a bit as urban dwellers?
What I like is things that bring me a burst of joy. I feel that people are already quite down generally, people are not energetic enough. They often feel very heavy and they feel like life has no meaning. I mean, okay, so generally when I hold workshops, I do get, feedback like that, like life is quite jaded for them. So I would suggest drinking, I like to blend teas. I like to use whatever I have growing in my garden to make them into teas. And rosemary is my top ingredient to go. So rosemary has a very special chemical component. When you drink it, it gives you a burst of joy. It's amazing. Yeah. So like how people would use rosemary oils in their aromatherapy type of thing, right? If they burn the oils or they do a bath soak. If you drink that tea, you're basically putting it into your body directly, but in suitable doses. So you're not overdosing. As compared to oils, you may overdose if you didn't know what the correct proportions were. With drinking rosemary tea, what I like to do is to pair it with, say, another fruit that's very uplifting. So it could be an orange or an orange peel, a lemon peel, that sort of thing that really just helps to uplift, make the day feel better. Yeah.
Nice. I know now. I know where I'm depressed. Who do I go to?
Come,
Cynthia,
come.
can you prescribe a range of herbs and fruits for me to make powerful like drinks to uplift me? That's amazing. I think we often undermine like how the food we eat will impact how we feel. Like ranging from things like how we feel like we have a food coma, right? To like when Balan was sharing earlier with us that he's doing intermittent fasting, and that energizes him a bit more. We also have a question from the crowd. Shure, who's my housemate, she's asking if there's any herbs that could help with sugar level for diabetic people. Do you guys know?
So I actually, I found a wheat, that is very amazing for diabetics, but I don't think you should quote me because I'm not a doctor to verify this, but I've seen it work on one of my mentors, my farming mentors, who had very severe diabetes. And she ate a wheat that can be found in our sidewalks. It's called the wild peperomia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that plant actually is so anti-inflammatory that it helps bring down inflammation, which really is what diabetics have. And it really helps. So for her, in her case, she had a very high dose of medication she had to take. But after taking regularly wild peperomia, she would drink it, she would eat it, she would pound it, she would do anything with it. Her levels actually dropped. But then again, I feel it's an individual thing. It may or may not work for everybody, but it's worth a try because it's something very natural and it's not harmful. In fact, when my children had hand, foot, and mouth disease, that was the wheat I went to forage in the sidewalks and I gave it to them. And within 24 hours, their symptoms disappeared. So I didn't just try it on my kids, I tried it on other people's kids as well. And it worked. So I really think that is an amazing plant that we all have access to.
It's true. It grows everywhere.
Yeah.
Can we grow it in HDB? Like
Can.
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 Okay.
Can.
Like
Yeah.
you see it in like any pots that you put out, like they will start sprouting. You will get peperomia in most pots.
Right.
Yeah. The balance. I think the question that we also want to ask is, you're doing, and with the microgreens pots that Cynthia is doing as well, like you guys are growing these like super nutrition in small pots. What are your, like, do you have any tips or like on soil mixes to kind of, grow such large products?
I would recommend using organic soil, anything that is organic, that's one. So it's kinder on your hands also. Number two, use soil that is loamy, meaning it's light to touch. It's not clumpy and stuff like that. So you can actually, I just want you to imagine that the tray is a little raised bed or a flat bed. So you can actually you can spread the soil out kindly out nicely. You can stretch it out nicely. And then you want to compact it a little, and then you can actually put your seeds down and go through the process of growing your microgreens. So soil types, I don't mix my soil, to be honest. I just use soil that is light. When you feel it's really loamy, it's really light to handle. So that is what I actually use for growing microgreens.
Right. For absolute beginners, right? Like what do you mean by organic soil? Like do they come like organic soil or like how do I know?
Okay, so usually they have a numbering and the numbering is very low. So it's like 4, 4, 4, 5. If you get soil which is laced with synthetic fertilizer or fungicide and other herbicides and stuff, right? There's a label too. So it's enhanced with some other stuff. Yeah, so you want to, it's just my own preference. I prefer to go, if it's really fully organic, I'll go with that arrangement. Yeah.
Right. Siulan asked, where can we get such soil? Like, where do you usually get your soil?
Okay. I get my soil from the Nature Company that's at 15 Joan Road. But you can go to any supermarket and stuff like that. They just look out for organic soil or compost and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's completely fine. Yeah.
We have someone who's quite curious about your garden setup as well. Like, how do you make sure that there's enough sunlight for all your plants, given that you probably tier them, right?
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that?
Initially, when I started off, you do a prototype. So you just grow a few plants. And an observation that I would take away, if your plant is like doing a yoga pose, trying to stretch out all the way, they call it leggy, you know, you have one long stem, two leaves, long stem, two leaves, then you probably know that there's insufficient sunlight. So it's when you grow something, I think what I've learned personally is your powers of observation. So observe how the plant actually behaves in those conditions. Yeah.
That's cool. We also have people asking about plants that could help control cholesterol and gout problem. Or I feel like, Cynthia, you can totally craft a full workshop, right, addressing on all the illnesses. Like, yeah, if you have any idea on gout problem and cholesterol. Yeah, and
I think there is one particular question I really want to address, which is Max. Max, you said that diabetics have inflammation. Wasn't it due to an insulin imbalance? I think it's been researched that most diabetic patients, they have a low-grade inflammation going on in their bodies. But then again, like I said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist. This is really based on my own experience with my mentor who has diabetes, and she brought it down with this plant that I was explaining. But you know, you shouldn't take it as I've quoted. I think you should do more research about it and maybe try in very low doses to see how it works for yourself. In terms of cholesterol, I don't know, there's been a lot of misconceptions about cholesterol. You know, I feel, then again, this is a very personal thing. I don't know if people are going to start slamming me if I say this, but I really believe in eating egg yolks because eggs are a complete food. You know, it is something that is, in fact, the egg yolks itself is so full of lecithin. The lecithin is meant to get rid of the cholesterol. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing, no pun intended. Yeah, so I feel like do a bit more research. Don't just based on hearsay or what we are saying today. Do your own research to understand more about what people say you should or shouldn't do, shouldn't eat. Because like for me, myself, I actually take lecithin supplements because soy lecithin is a very good supplement if you're not eating enough eggs, and you need that kind of lecithin to get rid of certain cholesterol buildup in our vessels. Yeah, so that is my recommendation. But then again, I have a lot of things I can talk about. It would spend more than 2 hours. So yeah.
But I think the thing with nutrition, like especially like I think the kind of nutrition, I don't know what you guys think, but when you're using natural nutrition, right? It's not just one plant to cure one condition. You know, it's about making sure the whole ecosystem is healthy. And so that's eating a wide spectrum of natural foods, of getting various nutrients in, and then when your foundation is strong, you can treat a single ailment with one herb. But it's not going to like really just work for you if you're having McDonald's every day. Nothing against McDonald's, but if you're having McDonald's every day and then you're having one herb, it's not going to get rid of your cholesterol. You know, no matter what you do, I don't think.
I just want to add in, it's like, so if you're eating all the healthy stuff, right, and you're not exercising, or your thoughts are a little bit out of whack, right, it actually influences, it influences your well-being in a negative way or aspect. And so we have to look at our emotional, mental, physical, and nutritional states all together. So just something to add on.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my mom telling me that no matter how well you eat, if you're under a lot of stress, your body just doesn't take it, like doesn't absorb all the nutrients. Yeah. We have a question on what type of plants can we grow in a HDB flat with limited sunlight, like, you know, plants that absolutely hate the light or something. I don't know.
Okay, a suggestion is something that creeps. So they will actually reach out for the sunlight, like, you know, they will actually find their way out. So sweet potato is one of them. Longevity spinach, they can grow out quite big and they can just grow out into the sun also. So go for things like if you have a sort of a netting, a trellis, you can make a trellis if you can, using the construction workers net, the orange color net that they actually discard after a while. So you can actually put that, you can grow small bitter gourds, the small ones, yeah. So they climb up the trellis to reach for the sunlight. So those plants that can actually climb or creep and give you some fruit, or maybe it's a herb or whatever, go for those. Yeah.
So, Kuriya, there's also a question on how to cook longevity spinach. So, I want to ask both of you guys, like one recipe that you enjoy making using stuff that you grow in your garden.
Okay. I sort of I make salads actually. So there's all the leaves that I harvest all the leaves. They come into one bowl. I've got sunflower seed, nuts, chia seeds, and all that other stuff on top of that. Then I have vinegar. I put in a mix, and then I have a salad going for that. So that's one. The other one is I cook like longevity spinach or kale and stuff like that with a bit of chicken, some sauces and stuff like that to actually flavor it all together. Yeah.
Nice.
So for me, so for me, I actually grow a lot of basil. I just make a lot of pesto out of the basil. I also have Thai basil, so I make a lot of Thai pesto, Thai flavored pesto. So pestos are my thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I think pestos are underrated as well. Like if you just blend up a bunch of excess herbs and you put it in your fridge, it's always there to like add flavor to anything, right?
Anything, yeah.
It's always so cool to have around.
Yeah.
And another question about gout. What are you guys doing?
Oh gosh.
Is gout if gout, I mean, what would you guys say for gout? I think exercise as well, right? Like
yes, exercise is required. This is what I've read. I don't have gout, so I've never tried it. Watermelon tends to help. So, but I think you might want to try it and look for, maybe check out with a doctor and stuff like that. So these are just feedback that I have from other people also. So I'm just sharing. Yeah.
I think in my case, if I would advise, it's just to keep your body in a less acidic state. Keep it more alkaline than anything, which means eating more raw greens, maybe having less meats for a while. And then in the case of gout, I mean, most people can't really eat seafood. They tend to avoid other things as well. So I think just find your own balance in that sense, because most of the times our urbanized bodies are very acidic. So even people who like to eat a lot of garlic and a lot of onion, that's super acidic actually. So just really trying to find that balance of what you've been eating that added to the acidity, just cut back on that. And also I feel like Balan, you said, keeping that whole mind, body, and spirit thing aligned, that is so important. That's what I advocate as well. You can't just be eating something and then you have this, like Jayden, you were saying, a messed up mind, you can't absorb anything, and you're constantly in a state of stress. I don't know how that herb is going to help you, It has to be a very holistic change, a lifestyle change, a paradigm shift of your thoughts, the way you think about food. Jayden, I was sharing with you earlier on, people tend to say, I like to eat chocolate cake, but it's very sinful. So today I'm going to treat myself and eat that sinful chocolate cake. But okay, guess what? If you eat that sinful chocolate cake, it's going to go right into your hips. So I'm just switching out certain words that you program yourself to think. Take out the word sinful, take out the word guilty, just have a chocolate cake.
Yes,
That's it.
I was just like, are we not supposed to have chocolate cake? I don't know what I'm gonna do. But
why did they invent chocolate cake?
No, okay, but I mean, cocoa, like cacao in its original form, is incredibly healthy, right?
Yeah.
It's just now we process it and add all this other junk to it, and then it becomes. Yeah, I think you should eat in balance and have fun with it and listen to your body. I mean, the idea, maybe have lots of rosemary tea. That sounds really quite calming. And ginger as well, very good for anti-inflammation.
And ginger we can grow quite easily, right? Like ginger, and then what Balan said about turmeric being a great source of food as well. Yeah. Okay, now just to do a time check, to be mindful of everyone's time, it's 4 o'clock, and I'm so thankful for all the knowledge that you guys are educating us, and I feel like you guys are great coaches in this arena of eating well, and being mindful of our lifestyle, be it exercising, cooking and eating, or even like, just be in check with our inner self. Yeah. So if you guys are you want to find out more about Balan and Cynthia and what they do, I'm gonna post a link here, and I'm also gonna write an email for you guys. So Balan does even workshops on how to make your own earthworm compost bin. He does sell like grow your superfoods in cup kit. So if you guys want to grow superfood in a cup, you can get it from him. And he also does some kids story-based learning workshop, which is very cute.
So fun.
Yeah, he teaches kids how to make mint yogurt. Yeah, he was sharing with me. It's amazing. Yeah, and Cynthia, she does workshops whereby you can learn how to heal with tea, apothecary. How do I pronounce it?
You did it right, apothecary. Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, so and if you
Cynthia
guys
loves
have
puns, clearly. Like we're realizing today, she loves puns.
yeah. So yeah, and I feel like maybe we can go for a workshop if you design one in the future to talk about all these health problems that we often have, and then what we can eat or what not to eat to prevent this from happening to ourselves. And finally, would you like to say any last words for any beginner gardeners, based on your journey, your 8-10 years journey of gardening, and being more mindful about what we eat and what we grow? Yeah, so maybe some last sharing from you guys.
Okay, so I'll start first. Just to share with you the philosophy I take away, right? It's when things happen, you want to ask yourself, what can you learn from the experience? So when you grow something and it sort of prematurely dies halfway, right? You want to ask yourself, what can I learn through this experience? Look at what's the internal monologue or narrative that how you talk to yourself? Because with this small thing, you can actually broach this across your lifestyle. Meaning to say, when things happen to you in life, you got to ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience altogether? And you want to fail fast, you want to fail forward, and eventually when you don't give up, right, you master growing that plant or that herb, right? And then you can start to propagate, and you begin to understand all the essential stuff that is, or all the other elements that actually work in favor towards you. So bottom line is, don't give up, keep learning, keep growing, and you will get there.
Thank you, Balan. Cynthia, are you stirring your moringa?
No, I think it's frozen. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, I definitely feel that just start small. Don't have to be too ambitious. Don't have to listen to too many advice or do too much research about soil, seeds, just seriously start small. I have the promo again. I mean, it can't get easier than this, and then you have green fingers all of a sudden. So yeah, I don't just give up, and don't just tell yourself you have no green thumbs. I mean, keep trying, like Balan said. It's about, you think we never fail, man. We have completely failed so many times. We just kept trying different methods until we got it right. So yeah.
Start small and learn as you fail or succeed. Yeah,
Yes.
That's great. Actually, I got to know you because one person in my farming chat shared with us how she has this kid and how you have instructions in a very nice booklet. So I think if you have struggling friends with extremely brown thumbs, or you can get it for them for their birthday or something like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, all instructions are illustrated and well written, so don't be scared.
Very foolproof. Yeah.
I mean, I think like what we realized today is like, if you can grow such amazing nutrition in a small little cup, like, from Balan in his HB corridor to Cynthia's kids, it's just, I guess there's nothing really stopping us from starting, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for the great energy that you guys are, giving us for this 1 hour. And we hope that you enjoy phase 2, and maybe we can go check out your little space next time. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.